everyone, I hope you're well. It's been a little while. I've been asked to do a little update video on the rebuild, only by one person, but still. Just thought I'd do a little update and go through a few things, just products I've used, techniques of doing things, people or companies that I've used, just to help people out or encourage people who are thinking about doing the same. Before I start though, I just want to say I'm not sponsored or affiliated with anyone. I make absolutely no money out of the channel. I don't stand to make anything by what I say. It's just all my own personal views, opinions and experiences. And also, if you do own an XRV or any motorbike, doesn't matter what it is, if it's getting old, if it's getting a bit worn, don't let it get to that stage where it's going to be going to a scrap heap. Just do your best to maintain it or restore it or sell it on to someone else you can, because it is honestly, it's just so important to keep these bikes not only in existence but in use. I'm not one for putting them into like a collection or a glass cabinet. This is being restored to be used. But yeah, I cannot recommend it enough. If you're thinking about doing it, please do. It's the most sort of satisfying, rewarding experience. The bike isn't even nearly finished yet, as you're going to see. But yeah, I just cannot recommend it enough. I really can't. So yeah, right, obviously haven't scripted any of this, so I've not really planned anything, so I'm just going to start at the beginning. The VIN plate was one of my main concerns, of removing that and keeping it in good condition. So what I did was use the file, because these tiny little brads here are domed. So I just used the file, I masked off all the VIN plate, used the little file and fold it flat, and then I used a 1.5mm drill bit, and you have to just really slowly, with no more than the weight of the drill, just drill the absolute dead center. And once you get through to a certain point, it will spin and then it will just fall out. So I'm really pleased that I managed to get that original VIN plate off and then back on again with it still looking nice and original. It doesn't even look like it's come off the bike. So that was a nice little touch. The little brads, the little pins I got off of eBay, I will try and put a link in the description. Really cheap, they're only like a couple of pence each. I bought 6 of them because I knew full well they'd ping across the garage, as they did. So that's a good little tip for doing that. Also, once you have drilled out the little pin, run a razor blade down the back very gently, because there will be some form of adhesive behind it, and when you put it back on, use Skillaflex or something similar, just a tiny little smear on the back, just to stop it from vibrating and to keep it against the frame. The battery cover, this was quite a touch actually. The sticker was really old looking. It was just covered in years of grime and dirt, and I was going to buy a replacement sticker, but I put masking tape over that sticker, cut around it with a razor blade, and then I painted the rest of the bracket. The masking tape was on that sticker for about a week, maybe 2 weeks, and when I removed it, it took all of the dirt and the grime with it and left it in pretty good condition. So that is just like a kind of little bonus that I found out along the way that tends to work. The rear pillion hangers, rear pillion foot peg hangers, these I cleaned up using a non-scratch scouring pad and some Auto Sol metal cleaner, which is that really good product. Most people know about it. I used that for pretty much all the metal work on the bike. These are polished up with like a Dremel, a little Dremel with the wire brushes. Word of warning, if you are using the Dremel with the little wire brushes, they are absolutely lethal in terms of you need to wear eye protection, because they basically disintegrate and ping everywhere. and it does not matter what clothes you are wearing, they will impregnate them and make it feel like your clothes are full of needles. And if you've got pets, because these are so small, if you've got pets, these will fall out of your clothes and go into your carpet and into their paws and into their fur. So please be really careful of that. It's best to get yourself some overalls and take them off when you're in the garage. Don't go in your home with, once you've been using these, basically. They will ruin anything and everything you wear. So just be aware of that, and please wear eye protection, because they'll stick into your skin if they hit it, or they can do. So yeah, be aware of that. What else? The metalwork, things like this bracket, the adjusters for the chain, all of the bolts, the axles, pretty much every single piece of metal was sent off and cleaned and zinc coated. I had, was it a local company that did that? Teen Metalworks, I think they're called, or Teen Metal Finishers. Again, I'll put links in the description. Same as the bracket, I'll put that in. That, I mean, some of these things are supposed to be black, but I'm not really that fussed. I just wanted them nice and clean. Things like these brackets. What else? The dial. If you have any problems with your dials, mine had temperature gauge, the bezel was dented. Unfortunately on the RDO3 and I think the 4, I'm not sure, these are sealed units. You cannot get inside. That bezel is pressed on. So what I ended up doing was buying a second-hand bezel, a second-hand complete unit from a Facebook group, and I sent off the other gauge because the needles had gone yellow on the ones that I bought, and I didn't want different coloured needles because it would drive me insane. So I sent off the old one and this one, and they just took the bezel off and transferred it over onto this. That was a company called Classic Car Engineering. Again, it will be in the description. So yeah, I highly recommend that company. Really good customer service. Sorted it all out for me. Refused to post it back on a Friday because they didn't want to risk any of their goods being set around in the post over the weekend, which is a good thing. All the plastic work, any of that sort of stuff, and also any rubber like the battery box and the air box, anything plastic like that, I use Auto Glim bumper and trim gel. This stuff, once you've cleaned it, it makes things just come up looking like new. I mean, this guard here, it's the original guard, and it just comes up looking like new. It's really good product. I do recommend that. I mean, I love Auto Glim. Same with that, you know, I mean, a few little light scratches in it, but it does clean things up really well. So that's another good product. Things to be cautious of if you are buying an XRV. You'll notice on quite a few bikes the lower exhaust guard that sits here on the black part, they're often missing. They are so hard to get hold of. This is going to make a lot of people laugh and probably get a little bit annoyed, but I searched pretty much the world to find one, and I eventually found one in its original packaging, unused, and it came from America. I'm not joking. That one shield, to buy it, for the postage, the import tax and the courier fees, because they pay your tax for you without you asking and then charge you for doing so, that one guard cost me £260. Yeah, so these are things that you really need to be aware of. I mean, for instance, one of the previous owners had decided to cut off the license plate hanger. As I said in my previous video, they cut off the license plate hanger along with the rear subframe, this part. and just that plastic license plate hanger and this subframe cost me in excess of £500. It's just the way it is, unfortunately. If you can find things from owner groups on Facebook, you will get things quite cheap and for quite good money, but unfortunately occasionally you have to go on eBay and there's one or two people on there that just absolutely milk the price. For instance, when I bought that, basically this part, I bought this pre-owned on Facebook for £40. There's someone on eBay from Germany selling this. I think they want £300. So that's the difference in prices between people who do this to make money and owners and enthusiasts that will actually help you out. So always try and search the owner groups. Obviously beware of scammers, but you can normally sniff them out. The brakes, I've never rebuilt brakes before. I've done my I've done my brake pads and changed discs. I've never actually done a full brake rebuild, and it's so easy. Don't ever hold back from doing it. Honestly, it is just so easy. This caliper had seized in the past to the point that the disc had warped like a bowl shape, and it had actually bent the slider pins. I don't know how on earth anyone hadn't noticed that. I mean, the bike had been sat for years, but yeah, that's all sorted out now. I've got all new slider pins, all new internals, putting new pistons into it. So yeah, they're looking quite nice. I haven't painted them, I've just cleaned them up. Talking of paints, there is a company I use called PaintNuts. You go online, you give them the code, and they mix the paint and can send it in rattle cans. They can send it in touch-up pens, whatever. They are a really good company in terms of customer service, speed of delivery, and to give you an idea, that guard that I told you about, this is the original unused item. That's original unused, so that's never even seen daylight. And this top guard is one that I've painted with PaintNuts Paint. I mean, that to me is a pretty good match. It's a bit hard in this light. This bottom one does look darker in this light now for some reason, but in daylight it is a very, very good match. May just be the shadows, but yeah, really pleased with them. So again, PaintNuts, highly recommend them. The grease that I use for the bearings that was recommended to me by my neighbour, who I'll talk about in a minute, is this Bel-Ray waterproof grease. It's very good. It's quite hard to get hold of in the UK. I think I found it was either on Amazon or eBay, can't quite remember, but that is really good stuff, so I recommend that. The exhaust guards, if you look at an XRV, the reason why they miss their exhaust guards quite often is because they bolt into here. And what happens is, because the immense, and frequent heat cycles that the exhaust goes through, the bolts that go through the guards into these just rust in, and then you try to undo them and they just snap, or the guard just snaps off. So I had to take my exhaust to a guy named Pete, who is just an absolute legend and real craftsman, real sort of the kind of person you want working on your bike. Unfortunately, I would give you his details, but he's retired and doesn't want the work anymore, which is a real shame. But he cut off and replaced these two bolts, those two bolts. He cut off the flange and welded a new one on, and then polished the whole exhaust and charged me £50. I mean, I gave him £80. I gave him £80. I wanted to give him more, but unfortunately my van went wrong that week and cost me 600 quid. So I couldn't give him as much as I wanted, but yeah, so grateful to him. That's another thing about doing the restorations, is you meet so many people, make new friends and chat to people online. It's just such a good experience. I really can't recommend it enough. So yeah, please do it. if you can. I do really recommend it. What else can I go through? I know I'm waffling on. Oh, these are not original Honda ones. These are from eBay. I think they're for a KDX or something, or a KX, I can't remember. I'll put the link up. The original Honda ones are, I think, around 120, 130 pounds, and apparently I've heard from other people that they just don't last after a year. They've all collapsed and split. These ones are around 20, 30 pounds. I can't remember, but quite pleased with those. The headlights, I bought new bowls that I got on eBay. They're off of the XRV 750. They are still foreign spec. I've put yellow H4 bulbs in. They cost me £100 for those bulbs, and then I just took them out and put them into my bracket, like my mount for my bike, for the RDA3, sorry. What else? What else? I can't really think of. Oh yeah, cost of parts. Oh wow. Right, let me find a certain clip. Where are they? Hose clips. Oh, I can't see it. But yeah, Honda. Seriously. Oh, where are they? These hose clips, if you buy these on Amazon, that packet is £7.99. These are the ones that you use on fuel lines. You don't use Jubilee clips on fuel lines for risk of splitting them. So the Jubilee clips go onto the coolant lines, as far as I know, and these ones go on the fuel lines. Now Honda charge £7.50 each for these clips, whereas you can buy that packet of 90 for £7.99. So as much as I want originality, I'm not paying £7.50 per hose clip. It's just ridiculous. You know, there's a lot of things I will buy original or Honda, but there's just some things that you just think it's just not worth it. I mean, if I was to buy all the original bolts new instead of getting mine cleaned, it would probably come to probably around £1,000, probably more. I really don't know. It's just absolutely insane how much they will charge for that kind of thing. So all mine are original, but they've just been cleaned up. The rear shock, that was absolutely caked in rust. It was dirty, it was horrible. All I did was took it apart and had the spring powder coated. I soaked some rags in some rust away. Where is it? Oh, mess of this place. Oh, I don't know where it's gone. Oh, that's it. I just used Nitro More's rust remover. Soaked some rags. Soaked it on some rags, sorry. Put the shock into a box like the body of it and just kept it in there for a couple of days just to get rid of the rust, and then cleaned it all up with the auto sole. All of these adjusters, these were sent off in zinc, like cleaned and zinc coated, along with all the bolts. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how that's come up. Same with the forks. These weren't too bad. I mean, they've still got a tiny little bit of pitting, really small amount, only up the top, luckily not where the actual shock moves and slides. It's just this top part, but they've come up quite well. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else to advise or sort of help you with at the moment, but apart from that, that is pretty much it. I've still got a fair few bits to buy. My rims were unfortunately rotted, so I've bought some SM Pros. They're upstairs. I've got to have those sent off to be built. I'll take them down to my local place, sorry, to have them built. The rims were, for the rims to be bought, drilled and posted, was £491. The spokes are around £80 per wheel, and then it's about £160 to have them built. So yeah, not cheap, and I did scour everywhere for original rims. It's a really long story, I won't go into it, but I just could not get a decent set of rims, so I've had to go aftermarket, which is a real shame. but it is what it is. So yeah, anyway, I said I'd mention my neighbour Ian. He has, honestly, he's helped me so much. There's no way I can take credit for a lot of this, because he's just helped me from day one. He was the one who picked the bike up for me, didn't charge me anything, wouldn't take any money. He cleaned out the carbs for me. That's another thing as well. The bike wasn't running when I got it. It would start up, but it wouldn't actually run. It would just start up and die. And my plan was to just get the bike back, strip it down, redo everything and build it back up. And Ian said to me, don't do that. Get the bike running, get it to basically work, and then you can ride it just down the road and back and make sure that the engine's good. Because otherwise, if I'd done what I was going to do, I could have stripped all this bike down, gone through all this time, all this work, all this money, only to then put back an engine that doesn't work or has a problem and needs to come back out again. And that's when you then start undoing all your hard work and scratching everything that's been painted or powder coated. So advice like that, honestly, if it's your first build, listen to people who have done builds themselves, and take their advice. You don't have to take their advice, listen to them, just listen to them, because they know more than you. I know people don't like admitting that, but it was good advice. So that's something I'd recommend. If the bike isn't running yet, try to get it running before you go for all of this, because like you say, you just end up reversing it all. And he's going to hate me mentioning him, by the way. I know if he sees this, he'll be like, oh, don't. That's what I like about him. He's not in it for any recognition. He just does it for the love of bikes. Oh, and also, yeah, the frame, I didn't actually have the frame powder coated. I had it painted. I was so hung up on originality that you can't get the powder coat in the right paint coat or colour. So I went for paint, which everyone said I was silly to do and I was wrong to do, and that I should have it powder coated. And yeah, in hindsight, I probably should have done. But I did think that at least with paints, where I've got the PaintNuts touch-up paint, I can always just keep the frame in fairly good nick, you know, touching it up and rubbing it down if I need to. Personally, I probably would go for powder coating though, to be honest. Because the thing with the originality, I've been so hung up on it and so desperate to try and keep it original. You just got to make a decision to what extent you take it. I mean, the tyres won't be original, the inner tubes won't be original, the air filter won't be original, you know, so it's just down to you as to how far you take it. I mean, I've always said it's much better to have an original, untouched, good condition bike than a restored bike, but this is my keeper bike. I don't ever plan to sell it, so the amount I spend on it to me is irrelevant, because I don't care what it's worth retail. It's not for sale. And I wanted to restore a bike for quite a while, and what I wanted was to get this bike looking like brand new, almost like brand new, not to keep it in this condition, but to give it a new start in life, for it to actually live a life and get used and get scratched and get dented. And that's what happens. You use it, it gets to a certain condition, you bring it back to a good condition. You know, it's not to be sat in a cabinet or in my garage looking good. It's to be used. So yeah, that's what I've got to say. I'm sorry to drone on, do a bit of a boring video, but it's so hard to do this without going on and on and on, because there is just so much to go through. But if you've got any questions, please ask. I will always get back to you as soon as I see the messages. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Take care.